Welcome to the online training video series for the Milkweed Density Monitoring Protocol. This is the second video in the 4-part training series. In this video, we will review the process for how to enter your field data online. The steps shown in this video will be completed after you've completed the Milkweed Density Monitoring Protocol at your designated site location. Let's get started. To enter your milkweed density field data online, simply log into the Missourians for Monarchs website using the user account previously created by you. Assuming you've already created your Missourians for Monarchs user account, you can enter your login credentials here and click Login. If you haven't yet created a user account on the Missourians for Monarchs website, click on the video link in the lower left-hand corner of the screen for the instructional video on how to create a user account. Once you've logged in, you can begin entering your milkweed density data. The online form contains the same fields as found on both your site description sheet and your data entry sheets, making the data entry easier and faster. Please note, if you are monitoring more than one site, you will need to complete a separate online data entry form for each site you are monitoring. Begin by entering the date. Please note, this date represents the date you are at your site conducting the milkweed density monitoring. This is not today's date. You can either select the appropriate date from the pop-up calendar that automatically appears when you click in the field, or you can manually enter the date. If you choose to manually enter the date, please note you must type the full 4-digit calendar year. Enter your first and last name as shown here. Now enter the site description information as provided on your site information sheet, which includes the site name, county in which your site is located, the GPS coordinates for your site, and the habitat types that exist at your site. Next, please indicate whether or not the data gathered from your sampling plots represent the overall milkweed observed at your location. Lastly, if you noticed any management concerns while at your site, such as invasive species present, please indicate those concerns in this comment box. If your site was small enough to visually observe and count all the milkweed stems, and you used method A to record your data, you will enter your data here. Begin by entering the number of milkweed plants you observed, followed by the size of your site. Be sure to select the corresponding unit of measurement for the size you enter. If your site was too large to visually observe and count all the milkweed stems, therefore you used either method B or C sampling procedure, you will enter your data here. The fields in the online form correspond to the same fields on the data sheet you used to record the data while at your site, which should allow you to simply transfer the data you recorded on your paper data sheets into the online data entry form. As with the paper data sheets, each row corresponds to each sampling plot at your site. Therefore, begin on row 1 and enter the number of milkweed you observed at your site for your sampling plot number 1. If no milkweed was observed in sampling plot number 1, simply enter 0 for that field, leave the next column blank, and move to the next row by either pressing the Tab key to move through the fields, or you can simply use your mouse to click in a field in row 2. If you were able to identify which species of milkweed you observed in the sampling plot, enter that species name in this last column. You may observe more than one milkweed species at your site. If you're able to identify the various species, again, enter the species name in the last column. You will most likely encounter sampling plots without any milkweed stems but with other nectarine plants present. If you're able to identify the nectarine plants, enter their names in the last column as shown here. Please note, you do not need to provide a count for those nectarine plants. We only require a stem count for the milkweed. You may also encounter sampling plots with both milkweed stems and other nectarine plants present. If so, enter the names for both the milkweed species and the nectarine plants for which you're able to identify in the last column. And again, you need only include the stem count for the milkweed species. Continue entering the remainder of your data. If you have more than 100 sampling plots and require additional rows beyond 100, simply click the plus icon at the end of the last row and a new row will be added. You do not need to worry about typing a row number for the newly added row. Simply continue adding the remainder of your monitoring data. Please note, you will need to click the plus icon for each additional row needed. When you have finished entering all of your data, click Submit. If there are no errors with your data input, a message will be displayed for 1 second on the screen acknowledging your data was successfully submitted, before automatically taking you back to a blank Milkweed Density Data entry form. If you have other sites' data you need to enter, you can do so now. Otherwise, simply click Logout.